Simone Carter's world shattered at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning when the cramping started. She doubled over in her kitchen, clutching her 8-month pregnant belly as waves of pain crashed through her body like lightning. The herbal tea she'd been drinking every morning for the past month, the tea that Rebecca, her husband's assistant, had so kindly brought her from that special health store, now tasted like poison on her tongue. "David," she screamed, but her voice came out as barely a whisper. Her husband was away on another business trip. Again. The same trips that had been happening more and more often lately. The same trips that always seemed to coincide with Rebecca's mysterious absences from the office. Simone's hands shook as she reached for her phone, the screen blurring through her tears. The cramping was getting worse. Much worse. This wasn't normal pregnancy discomfort. This was something else entirely. Something terrifying. Her beautiful brown skin had turned ashen gray, and sweat poured down her face despite the cool morning air. She had trusted Rebecca. The young woman had been so helpful, so caring. "Mrs. Carter, I know pregnancy can be so hard," Rebecca had said with that sweet smile. "My grandmother always swore by this special blend. It'll help with the nausea and give you energy." Simone had been grateful. David worked such long hours building his construction company, and she often felt alone in their big house in Buckhead. Now, as another wave of agony ripped through her body, Simone realized she had been a fool. The 911 operator's voice seemed to come from far away. "Ma'am, we need you to stay on the line. Help is coming." But Simone could barely hold the phone. Her vision was fading in and out, and she could feel something was terribly wrong with the baby. Her daughter, the little girl she'd already named Hope, was in danger. As the ambulance sirens wailed in the distance, Simone's mind raced through the past few months. Rebecca's sudden interest in her pregnancy. The way the young woman always volunteered to pick up things for her. The knowing looks Rebecca and David had shared when they thought she wasn't watching. The phone calls David would take in private, stepping out onto the balcony with a guilty expression. "No, no, no," Simone whispered as the paramedics burst through her front door. This couldn't be happening. Not to her baby. Not to Hope. The last thing she remembered before everything went black was the paramedics saying something about poison in her system and emergency surgery. Her hand instinctively moved to her belly one last time, trying to protect the life growing inside her. When Simone woke up 3 days later in Grady Hospital, the silence in her belly told her everything she needed to know. Hope was gone. But as Dr. Angela Brooks, a kind African-American woman with gentle eyes, sat beside her bed, Simone learned the truth was even more devastating than she'd imagined. "Mrs. Carter," Dr. Brooks said softly, "we need to talk about what happened to you. The tests we ran. Someone has been poisoning you. Slowly, methodically, for months." Simone's heart stopped. "My baby? We had to deliver Hope early to save both your lives. She's in the NICU fighting, but..." Dr. Brooks paused, choosing her words carefully. "The substances in your system caused serious complications. We're not sure if she'll make it through the night." The room spun around Simone as the doctor's words sank in. Someone had been poisoning her. Someone had tried to kill her and her baby. But who? And why? As if reading her thoughts, Dr. Brooks continued, "The police want to speak with you when you're ready. The type of poison used, it's not something you accidentally ingest. Someone has been deliberately giving this to you over time, probably in food or drinks." Simone closed her eyes and saw Rebecca's face. That sweet, innocent face hiding such evil. The herbal tea. The homemade cookies. The smoothies Rebecca would bring to the office when Simone visited David. It all made sense now. "Where's my husband?" Simone asked, her voice hoarse. Dr. Brooks looked uncomfortable. He's here. But Mrs. Carter, there are some things you need to know before you see him." The police had been asking him a lot of questions. That's when Simone knew her marriage was over. David wasn't just cheating on her. He might have been part of the plan to kill her and their baby. The man she'd loved since college, the man she trusted with her whole heart, had betrayed her in the worst possible way. But as she lay in that hospital bed, listening to the machines beeping around her, Simone made herself a promise. If her daughter survived, she would fight for both of them. She would find the truth no matter how much it hurt. And she would make sure whoever did this paid for what they'd done. Hope was still alive, barely clinging to life in an incubator down the hall. And as long as her baby was fighting, Simone would fight too. The real question was, could she ever trust David again? Or had the father of her child tried to murder them both? 2 days later, Simone finally had the strength to walk down the hallway to the NICU. Each step felt like moving through thick mud, her body still recovering from the poison that had nearly killed her. But she needed to see Hope. She needed to touch her daughter's tiny hand and promise her that everything would be okay. The NICU was quiet except for the steady beeping of monitors and the soft whoosh of ventilators. Hope lay in an incubator, so small she looked like a delicate bird. Tubes and wires covered her tiny body, but her little chest rose and fell steadily. She was beautiful, with Simone's warm brown skin and David's long fingers. "She's been asking for you," said Patricia, one of the nurses. "Babies always know their mothers." Simone carefully placed her hand through the opening in the incubator and touched Hope's palm. Immediately, the baby's fingers wrapped around her mother's finger with surprising strength. "That's a good sign," Patricia continued. "She's getting stronger every day." The doctors were worried about brain damage from the poison, but her latest tests looked promising. Simone felt tears streaming down her face. Her baby was going to be okay. Hope was living up to her name. "Mrs. Carter?" A deep voice behind her made Simone turn. Detective Rodriguez stood in the doorway, his expression serious but kind. "I'm sorry to bother you here, but we need to talk about what happened to you." Simone nodded, kissing Hope's tiny forehead before following the detective to a quiet family room. "We've been investigating your case," Detective Rodriguez said, pulling out a notebook. "The blood tests don't lie. Someone has been giving you small amounts of antifreeze mixed with other chemicals for at least 3 months. It's a miracle you and your baby are alive." Antifreeze. Simone's stomach turned. "In what?" "That's what we're trying to figure out. Can you think of anyone who had regular access to your food or drinks? Anyone who might want to hurt you?" Simone thought about Rebecca's daily visits with tea and snacks. David's assistant, Rebecca Martinez. "She's been bringing me things for months. Herbal tea, homemade cookies, smoothies. She said she wanted to help because David was working so much." Detective Rodriguez wrote everything down. "We'll need to test anything she gave you that you might still have. And Mrs. Carter, we need to talk about your husband." Simone's heart sank. "What about him?" "He's been having an affair with Ms. Martinez for over a year. We have phone records, hotel receipts, witnesses. The question is whether he knew what she was doing to you." The room felt like it was spinning again. A year. David had been cheating on her for a year, even before she got pregnant. Where is he now? "He's been staying at a hotel downtown. Says he can't face you after what happened." "But Mrs. Carter, there's something else. Ms. Martinez has been telling people that once you were gone, she and David were going to get married. She even showed co-workers an engagement ring." Simone felt sick. "She tried to kill me so she could have my husband?" "That's what it looks like. We have a warrant to search her apartment and workplace. We're also looking into her background. This might not be the first time she's done something like this." Before Simone could respond, there was a commotion in the hallway. Through the glass window, she saw David arguing with a nurse. He looked terrible. His usually neat business clothes were wrinkled, his face unshaven, his eyes red and swollen. "I need to see my wife," David was saying. "Please, I need to see my family." Detective Rodriguez stood up. "Do you want to talk to him?" Simone looked at the man she'd loved for 8 years. The man who'd held her hand when she was scared. The man who'd cried when they found out they were having a baby. The man who'd been sleeping with another woman while that same woman was slowly killing his wife and child. "Yes," she whispered. "But I want you to stay." When David entered the room, he fell to his knees in front of Simone's chair. "Baby, please. I'm so sorry. I never knew what she was doing. You have to believe me." "Get up," Simone said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "Sit in the chair." David obeyed, his eyes never leaving her face. "How's Hope?" "They won't let me see her. She's fighting for her life because your girlfriend tried to kill us." "She's not my girlfriend." David exploded, then caught himself. "I mean, it's over. It's been over since I found out what she did." "Over?" Simone laughed, but there was no humor in it. "David, you've been cheating on me for a year. While I was carrying your child, you were sleeping with the woman who was poisoning me. And you're telling me it's over now? I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Simone's voice rose. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk from the store. A mistake is being late for dinner. Having an affair while your wife is being slowly murdered is not a mistake. It's a choice. You chose her over me, over our family, over our baby." David started crying, ugly sobs that shook his whole body. "I love you, Simone. I've always loved you. Rebecca. She made me feel important, like I was successful. With you, I always felt like I wasn't enough. So you decided to let her kill me instead of just asking for a divorce?" "I didn't know," David screamed. "I swear on my mother's grave, I didn't know what she was doing." Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. Mr. Carter, we need to ask you some questions. Did you ever notice your wife getting sick after eating or drinking things Ms. Martinez brought? David wiped his eyes. Simone was tired a lot, but she was pregnant. I thought that was normal. Did Ms. Martinez ever talk about your wife negatively? Did she ever suggest that your marriage was a problem? David was quiet for a long moment. She would say things like maybe Simone and I weren't right for each other. Maybe I deserved someone who appreciated me more. But I never thought. She showed people an engagement ring, Simone said coldly. She told your employees that once I was gone, you two would get married. David's face went white. What? No, I never asked her to marry me. I never even talked about leaving you. Then where did she get the ring? David looked genuinely confused. I don't know. She must have bought it herself. Detective Rodriguez made notes. Mr. Carter, we're going to need you to come to the station tomorrow for a formal interview. Right now you're not under arrest, but you are a person of interest in an attempted murder case. After the detective left, David and Simone sat in silence for several minutes. I want a divorce, Simone finally said. Please don't say that. I can't trust you anymore, David. Even if you didn't know what Rebecca was doing, you betrayed me. You betrayed our family. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Because I love you, David whispered. Because I'm the father of your baby. Because we've been together since we were 20 years old. Love doesn't cheat. Love doesn't lie. Love doesn't put another woman before your pregnant wife. Simone stood up, her legs still shaky. I need to get back to Hope. She's the only family I have left. As she walked toward the door, David called after her. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to fix this. Simone turned back one last time. Help them catch Rebecca. Make sure she pays for what she did to our daughter. And then stay away from us. But even as she said the words, Simone wondered if she meant them. Despite everything, David was Hope's father. And somewhere deep in her heart, she still loved the man he used to be before Rebecca poisoned more than just her body. Rebecca Martinez was arrested at her apartment the next morning. Simone watched the news coverage from Hope's bedside, feeling a mix of satisfaction and rage as she saw the young woman led away in handcuffs. We found enough poison to kill 10 people, Detective Rodriguez told Simone over the phone. Antifreeze, rat poison, cleaning chemicals. She had a whole setup in her kitchen. And we found something else, a journal where she wrote about you and your husband. Simone's grip tightened on the phone. What kind of journal? It's disturbing. She wrote about watching you and David, about how much she hated you, about her plans for after you were gone. Mrs. Carter, this woman is seriously mentally ill. She's been obsessed with your husband for over 2 years, since before she even worked for him. 2 years. Simone felt cold. How is that possible? She was a customer at his construction company. He helped her with some work on her apartment. She became fixated on him, started showing up at job sites, following him. That's why he hired her as his assistant. He thought if she worked for him, he could control the situation better. Simone closed her eyes. And then he started sleeping with her. According to what we've learned, yes. But Mrs. Carter, your husband may be telling the truth about not knowing what she was doing to you. We've interviewed several of Ms. Martinez's former co-workers and boyfriends. This is a pattern for her. She becomes obsessed with men, and when she can't have them completely, she targets the women in their lives. What do you mean? 3 years ago, she was arrested for stalking a married man in Dallas. The charges were dropped when he moved out of state. 5 years ago in Phoenix, she was suspected in the food poisoning of her boss's wife, but they couldn't prove it. Mrs. Carter, Rebecca Martinez is a predator. Your husband was as much a victim as you were, just in a different way. Simone didn't know how to feel about that information. David had still cheated. He had still betrayed her trust. But if Rebecca had been manipulating him, targeting him specifically. There's something else, Detective Rodriguez continued. Ms. Martinez kept photos of you and your family. Pictures of you at the grocery store, at doctor's appointments, at home. She's been watching you for months, maybe longer. The thought made Simone's skin crawl. I want to see her. Ma'am? I want to see Rebecca. I want to look her in the eye and ask her why she tried to kill my baby. I don't think that's a good idea. Detective, that woman poisoned me for months. She tried to murder my child. I have a right to face her. There was a long pause. Let me make some calls. 2 hours later, Simone was sitting across from Rebecca Martinez in an interview room at the county jail. Rebecca looked different without her makeup and professional clothes. Smaller. Younger. but her eyes were cold and calculating. "Hello, Simone," Rebecca said as if they were meeting for coffee. "How's the baby?" "Why?" Simone asked, ignoring the question. "Why did you try to kill us?" Rebecca smiled, and it was the most chilling thing Simone had ever seen. "Because David deserves better than you. Better than his wife, the mother of his child. You never appreciated him. You took him for granted. You were holding him back. So you decided to murder me?" Rebecca shrugged. "I decided to free him. You were going to leave him eventually anyway. You're not strong enough for a man like David. He needs someone who can match his ambition, his drive. He needs someone who won't poison his family." "That was unfortunate," Rebecca said as if discussing the weather. "I didn't want to hurt the baby. But you wouldn't leave on your own. You just kept hanging on, dragging him down." Simone stared at this woman who had nearly destroyed her life. "You're insane. I'm in love. Real love. Not the boring, settled kind of love you had. David and I have passion, excitement. We have a future. You don't have anything. David wants nothing to do with you." For the first time, Rebecca's composure cracked. "He's just confused right now. Once you're gone, once he has time to think, he'll realize we belong together." "I'm not going anywhere, Rebecca. I'm going to watch them put you in prison for the rest of your life." Rebecca leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You think you've won? You think this is over? David will never love you the same way again. He'll always remember how good he felt with me, how alive I made him feel. You'll spend the rest of your marriage wondering if he's thinking about me." Simone stood up. "The only thing David is going to remember about you is that you almost killed his daughter. And every day for the rest of your life, you'll be in a cell while I'm at home with my family." As Simone walked out of the interview room, she realized something had changed inside her. The fear was gone. The doubt was gone. She was angry, yes, but she was also strong. Stronger than she'd ever been. Rebecca had tried to destroy her, but she had survived. Hope was getting stronger every day. And now it was time to decide what to do about David. That evening, Simone was holding Hope for the first time when David appeared in the doorway of the hospital room. The baby was still small, still fragile, but she was breathing on her own now. Her eyes were open, looking around with curiosity. "She's beautiful," David whispered, not coming any closer. "Yes, she is. Can I hold her?" Simone looked at her husband. Really looked at him. He was thinner than before, exhausted, broken. But he was also Hope's father. And despite everything that had happened, Hope deserved to know her father. "Sit down," Simone said quietly. David sat in the chair next to the bed, and Simone carefully placed Hope in his arms. The baby looked up at her father with those same dark eyes, and David started crying again. "I'm so sorry," he whispered to Hope. "Daddy is so sorry." Watching David hold their daughter, Simone felt something shift in her chest. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was the beginning of something. Maybe understanding. Maybe compassion. "David," she said softly, "we need to talk. Really talk. About everything." He looked up at her, still cradling Hope. "Okay. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if we can fix this. I know. But Hope needs her father. And if we're going to try to co-parent, we need to figure out how to trust each other again." David nodded, tears still streaming down his face. "I'll do whatever it takes. Anything. It's going to take time. A lot of time. And work. And I need you to understand that what you did, the affair, the lies, that changed everything between us. I understand." Simone watched her husband hold their daughter, and for the first time in weeks she felt something like peace. They had a long road ahead of them. Rebecca was going to trial. Their marriage was broken. But Hope was alive and getting stronger every day. And sometimes Simone thought that was enough to start rebuilding from. 3 months later, Simone stood in the kitchen of her mother-in-law's house in East Atlanta, watching Grandma Rose Carter teach Hope how to hold a bottle. The baby was thriving now, her cheeks round and healthy, her eyes bright with intelligence. "That's my great-grandbaby," Grandma Rose cooed, adjusting the bottle in Hope's tiny hands. "Look at her, trying to do everything herself already." Simone smiled, sipping her coffee. Real coffee this time, not the poison tea that had nearly killed her. She was staying with Grandma Rose while she figured out what to do next. The big house in Buckhead held too many bad memories, too many reminders of Rebecca's visits and David's betrayal. "You know that boy been calling me every day," Grandma Rose said without looking up from the baby. "Asking how you doing, asking about Hope, asking if you'll see him." "I know, Grandma Rose. You've been avoiding him for 3 weeks now." "I'm not avoiding him. I'm just thinking." Grandma Rose looked up with those sharp brown eyes that had seen 82 years of life. Child, thinking is good, but hiding ain't. That man made mistakes, big ones, but he's Hope's daddy. And he's been going to that counseling like you asked. Simone had insisted David start therapy if he wanted any chance of being part of Hope's life. She'd also demanded complete access to his phone, his emails, his schedule. If they were going to rebuild any kind of relationship, it had to be built on transparency. The therapist says he's making progress, Simone admitted. And what does your therapist say? Simone's own counselor, Dr. Patricia Williams, had been helping her work through the trauma of the poisoning and the betrayal. She says I need to decide what I want for my future, not just react to what happened in the past. Smart woman. So what do you want? Before Simone could answer, there was a knock at the door. Through the window, she could see David's car in the driveway. I didn't know he was coming today, Simone said. I might have mentioned you'd be here, Grandma Rose said innocently, handing Hope back to her mother. David knocked again and Grandma Rose called out, "Come on in, baby." Doors open. David entered carrying a large box and looking nervous. He'd lost weight over the past few months, but he looked healthier somehow. Cleaner. More like the man Simone had fallen in love with in college. Hey, Grandma Rose. Hi, Simone. He kept his distance, respecting the boundaries Simone had set. I brought some things for Hope. Toys, clothes, books. That's thoughtful, Simone said carefully. And I brought something else. David pulled out a thick folder. The final divorce papers. Signed. Simone stared at him. What? You asked for a divorce. I'm giving it to you. No contest, no fighting over assets. The house is yours, the cars, everything. I want to be part of Hope's life if you'll let me. Simone felt like the world had shifted under her feet. She'd been expecting David to fight the divorce, to keep trying to win her back. I don't understand. I've been in therapy for 3 months now like you asked. Dr. Martinez, no relation to Rebecca. Don't worry, he's been helping me understand why I did what I did. David sat down on the edge of Grandma Rose's old sofa. I was selfish, Simone. I was scared of being a father, scared of the responsibility, scared I wasn't good enough for you. Instead of talking to you about it, I ran to someone who made me feel better about myself. David. Let me finish, please. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I broke something between us that can't be fixed. But I also know that Hope deserves better than parents who are staying together out of obligation or guilt. She deserves to see what real love looks like, even if it's not between her parents. Simone looked down at Hope, who was reaching for her father with chubby little hands. I want to be the best father I can be, David continued. I want to be the kind of man Hope can be proud of. And I want you to be happy, Simone. Really happy. Not just settled or comfortable, but genuinely happy. Grandma Rose, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. That woman, Rebecca, she's going to prison for a long time? 25 years, David confirmed. She pled guilty to attempted murder and aggravated assault. Her lawyer said she was mentally ill, but the judge didn't care. What she did to Simone and Hope was unforgivable. Good, Grandma Rose said firmly. Evil don't get to hide behind sickness. She made her choices. Simone was still staring at the divorce papers. Part of her felt relieved. David was finally giving her what she'd asked for. But another part felt empty. Like the end of a chapter she wasn't ready to close. Can I hold her? David asked, gesturing toward Hope. Simone nodded and handed over their daughter. Hope immediately grabbed David's finger and smiled, her first real smile. She's going to be walking soon, David said, his voice thick with emotion. Talking, going to school. I don't want to miss any of it. You won't, Simone said quietly. You're her father. That never changes no matter what happens between us. I love you, David said suddenly. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore, but I need you to know. I love you, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that I can be better. Simone felt tears starting. David, I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to let me earn your respect back. Let me show Hope what kind of man her father can be. Grandma Rose stood up and brushed off her hands. I'm going to make some sweet tea. Y'all keep talking. After she left, Simone and David sat in comfortable silence, watching Hope play with David's watch. I've been thinking about moving back to Savannah, Simone said finally. Closer to my family. Starting fresh. That's a good idea. Clean slate. You could visit whenever you want. I'd never keep Hope from you. I know you wouldn't. You're not that kind of person. Simone looked at David, really looked at him. What kind of person am I? Kind, generous, forgiving even when people don't deserve it. The kind of woman who makes everyone around her better just by being herself. Then why wasn't I enough for you? David was quiet for a long time. You were enough. You were everything. That was the problem. I didn't think I deserved you, so I sabotaged it before you could figure out you were too good for me. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I know. Dr. Martinez says self-sabotage is a common response to feelings of inadequacy. Doesn't make it right, just makes it understandable. Hope started fussing, and Simone took her back, automatically checking her diaper and adjusting her position. You're such a good mother, David said quietly. Hope is lucky to have you. She's lucky to have both of us. Separately but still both of us. David nodded. So we're really doing this? The divorce? Simone looked down at the papers again. I think so. I think it's what's best for everyone. Okay. David stood up. I should go. But Simone, if you ever need anything at all, you call me. I mean it. After he left, Grandma Rose came back with a pitcher of sweet tea and 2 glasses. You did the right thing, she said, settling back into her chair. Did I? It doesn't feel right. It feels like giving up. Sometimes giving up is the bravest thing you can do. Sometimes love means letting go. Simone sipped her tea and watched Hope sleep peacefully in her arms. Maybe Grandma Rose was right. Maybe this was what love looked like now, not the passionate romance of their youth, but the mature decision to do what was best for their daughter. What if I regret it? Simone asked. Then you'll figure that out when you get there. But right now this is what feels right for you, ain't it? Simone nodded. Yes, it does. Then trust that feeling. Trust yourself. You've been through hell and come out stronger. You know what you can handle. That night, after Hope was asleep, Simone signed the divorce papers. It felt like closing a book, but also like opening a door to something new. She was 28 years old. She had a beautiful daughter, a loving family, and a second chance at life. Rebecca Martinez was in prison, David was getting the help he needed, and Hope was healthy and thriving. It wasn't the life Simone had planned, but it was a good life. And for the first time in months, that felt like enough. 1 year later, Simone stood in the backyard of her new house in Savannah, watching Hope take her first wobbly steps toward her father. David had driven down from Atlanta every other weekend for the past 6 months, staying in a hotel downtown but spending every possible moment with his daughter. Come on, Hope. David called, kneeling on the grass with his arms outstretched. Come to Daddy. Hope giggled and toddled forward, her chubby legs carrying her the 5 feet between her parents before she collapsed into David's arms with a squeal of delight. Did you see that, Mama? David called to Simone. She walked all the way. Simone laughed, taking pictures with her phone. I saw it. Our little girl is growing up. Their little girl. Simone was surprised by how natural it felt to say our again when it came to Hope. The divorce had been finalized 8 months ago, but they'd settled into an easy co-parenting relationship that worked for everyone. Hungry, Hope announced, which was her new favorite word for everything. Lunch is ready, Simone said, scooping up her daughter. Come on, David. Grandma made your favorite. Simone's mother, Clara Washington, had moved to Savannah to help with Hope while Simone finished her nursing degree online. At 55, Clara was energetic and opinionated, and she'd taken to grandmotherhood like she'd been born for it. About time that child started walking, Clara said as they came into the kitchen. I was starting to worry she was going to be crawling to college. She's only 13 months old, Mama, Simone said, settling Hope into her high chair. You were walking at 10 months, running by 12. Always in a hurry to get somewhere. David sat down at the kitchen table, and Simone was struck by how natural it felt to have him there. Not romantic, that ship had sailed, but comfortable. Familial. How's the new job? Simone asked as she served lunch. Good. Really good. The Atlanta Children's Hospital project is challenging, but I love working on something that matters. David had restructured his construction company to focus on hospitals and schools instead of luxury homes. He said it felt more meaningful. And therapy? Still going. Dr. Martinez says I'm making progress. David smiled ruefully. Turns out I had a lot more issues than just the affair. Don't we all? After lunch, while Hope napped, David and Simone sat on the front porch swing, watching the neighborhood kids play in the street. It was peaceful here in Savannah, slower than Atlanta, more connected to family and community. There's something I need to tell you, David said, not meeting her eyes. Simone felt her stomach clench. What? I've been seeing someone. The words hit Simone like a physical blow, even though she'd been expecting them eventually. Oh, her name is Angela. She's a pediatric nurse at the hospital. We met when I was visiting the children's ward for the construction project. Simone was quiet for a moment, processing. How long? 3 months. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I wasn't sure if it was serious. And I wanted to make sure Hope was okay with her first. You introduced her to Hope? Just once, briefly. At the park last weekend. Hope seemed to like her. Simone felt a complicated mix of emotions. Jealousy, sadness, but also something that might have been relief. Are you happy? David looked surprised by the question. Yeah, I think I am. She's nothing like... He paused. Nothing like Rebecca? Nothing like Rebecca. And nothing like you either, in a good way. She's her own person. She doesn't make me feel like I need to be someone I'm not. Simone nodded slowly. That's good. That's what you need. Are you okay with this? Simone considered the question honestly. I don't know yet, but I think I will be. You deserve to be happy, David. We both do. What about you? Are you seeing anyone? Simone laughed. When? Between nursing school, raising Hope, and working part-time at the clinic? I barely have time to sleep. But if the right person came along? Maybe. Someday. Right now, I'm focused on building a life for me and Hope. That evening, after David had driven back to Atlanta, Simone sat in Hope's nursery, rocking her daughter to sleep. The room was painted soft yellow with white furniture and pictures of family covering the walls. It was peaceful, safe, filled with love. Your daddy's got a girlfriend, Simone whispered to Hope, who was almost asleep. That's okay, baby girl. It doesn't change how much he loves you. Hope's eyes fluttered open, and she reached up to touch Simone's face with one tiny hand. And Mama's doing just fine too, Simone continued. We're building something good here, you and me. Something that's all ours. As she put Hope in her crib, Simone thought about the past year and a half. The poisoning, the betrayal, the divorce, it had all felt like the end of the world at the time. But here she was, stronger than she'd ever been, with a beautiful daughter and a bright future ahead of them. Her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from David. Thank you for understanding about Angela. You're amazing, and someday someone is going to be very lucky to have you. Simone smiled and texted back, just make sure she's good to our daughter. She will be. I promise. 3 months later, Simone was working her shift at the community health clinic when a familiar face walked into the waiting room. Dr. Marcus Thompson, Hope's pediatrician from Atlanta, was standing at the reception desk looking confused. Dr. Thompson? Simone approached him. What are you doing here? He turned and smiled, his dark eyes lighting up with recognition. Simone, I was hoping I might run into you. I'm here for a medical conference at SCAD. How are you? How's Hope? We're both great. Hope's walking now, talking up a storm. She keeps the whole neighborhood entertained. That's wonderful. And how are you adjusting to Savannah? Really well. It's been good for us. Slower pace, close to family. Simone paused. Are you here by yourself? Yeah, just me. I was actually wondering, would you like to get dinner sometime while I'm in town? Catch up, talk about Hope's progress. Simone felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Marcus had always been kind during Hope's medical visits, professional but warm. He was a few years older than her, divorced himself with 2 teenage sons. I'd like that, she said. But I should mention, I have a babysitter situation to figure out. Bring Hope along. I'd love to see her again. That Saturday evening, Simone found herself at a family restaurant downtown, watching Marcus make funny faces at Hope while she giggled and threw Cheerios at him. She's gotten so big, Marcus said, catching one of the Cheerios Hope had aimed at his nose. And so coordinated with her throwing arm. She's going to be a softball player like her mama, Simone said. At least that's what my mother keeps saying. You played softball? In college? First base. I was pretty good actually. I can see that. You've got the build for it, strong shoulders, good hands. Simone felt herself blushing slightly. It had been so long since a man had complimented her appearance in a way that felt genuine rather than calculated. What about you? She asked. Any sports? Basketball in high school, but I was too short to play in college. Now I stick to running and the occasional pickup game with other old guys who think they're still 22. They talked for 2 hours about Hope's development, about Simone's nursing program, about Marcus's work at the hospital. It was easy, comfortable, the kind of conversation that flowed naturally without awkward pauses. I should get this little one home, Simone said eventually as Hope started rubbing her eyes. Of course. Would it be okay if I called you sometime? I mean, I'll be back in Atlanta, but I come to Savannah pretty regularly for conferences. I'd like that. As Marcus walked them to their car, Hope reached out for him and he scooped her up easily. Bye-bye, Dr. Marcus, Hope said, patting his cheek with her tiny hand. Bye-bye, sweet girl. You take care of your mama, okay? After he helped secure Hope in her car seat, Marcus turned to Simone. Thank you for tonight. I haven't enjoyed myself this much in a long time. Me either. He leaned down and kissed her cheek softly. Drive safe. On the way home, Hope fell asleep in her car seat, and Simone found herself singing along to the radio for the first time in months. She felt lighter somehow, like a door she hadn't even realized was closed had cracked open just a little bit. When she got home, there was a message from David on her voicemail. Hey, it's me. Angela and I are engaged. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I know this is probably weird, but I hope you can be happy for us. Hope is always going to be my priority, and Angela understands that. Call me when you get a chance. Simone sat on her couch, processing this news. Engaged. David was engaged to someone else. A year and a half after their divorce, he was ready to marry again. And the strangest thing was she realized she was happy for him. Not completely, there was still a part of her that felt sad about the end of their story. But mostly she was relieved. David had found someone who made him want to be better, and Hope would have another person in her life who loved her. Her phone rang. It was Marcus. I hope it's not too late to call, he said. I just wanted to make sure you got home safely. We did. Hope's already passed out in her crib. Good. Listen, I know this might be forward, but I'm going to be in Savannah again next month for another conference. Would you like to go to dinner again? Just the two of us this time? Simone looked around her little house, at the photos of Hope on every surface, at the nursing textbooks stacked on the coffee table, at the life she'd built from scratch after everything fell apart. Yes, she said. I'd like that very much. After they hung up, Simone walked into Hope's room and stood watching her daughter sleep. Hope was curled up with her stuffed elephant, her dark curls spread across the pillow, completely at peace. We're going to be okay, baby girl, Simone whispered. Better than okay. We're going to be happy. 2 years after Rebecca Martinez had tried to destroy their lives, Simone and Hope were not just surviving, they were thriving. David had found love again, and maybe, just maybe, it was time for Simone to open her heart to that possibility too. She thought about Marcus's gentle smile, his easy way with Hope, the comfortable conversation they'd shared. It wasn't the passionate, all-consuming love she'd had with David in their youth. But maybe that was okay. Maybe mature love was supposed to be steadier, safer, built on mutual respect and genuine friendship. As she got ready for bed, Simone caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked different than she had 2 years ago. Older, yes, but also stronger. More confident. The woman staring back at her had survived betrayal and near death. She had raised a beautiful daughter as a single mother while earning her nursing degree. She had forgiven the unforgivable and built a new life from the ground up. That woman, Simone realized, deserved all the happiness the world had to offer. Hope stirred in her crib and Simone went to check on her one more time. Their little girl was growing so fast, already showing signs of the strong, independent woman she would become. Sweet dreams, Hope, Simone whispered, pulling the blanket up to her daughter's chin. Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. And for the first time in 2 years, Simone truly believed it.